All right, we just have a few more people joining us, so we will let them in and get started. So these are the topics that we're going to talk about tonight. So we're going to talk about registering for Rocket Launch, your pre-orientation modules, an intake survey, placement test. We always get a lot of great questions on placement tests. We will spend some time with that, about registering for classes with your advisor, and then kind of the next steps to finish at the end of the summer. So we will get started with your Rocket Launch orientation. So this is something that is required for all new students, your guests, so parents, guardians, they are more than welcome to attend with you. Registration for this is going to open on April 1st at noon, and you can access this through your new student tab on your MyUT account. It's going to be under the option number 4, which will lead you to orientation information. You're going to want to make sure before that you submit your enrollment and housing deposit, and that'll then allow you to do all of this registration. The dates are going to be Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays in June, and then early July. And then all of the dates are going to be in person, but we will have one virtual date on June 30th in case you guys have anything, you live a little bit further away, or you need to make accommodations based on any vacations and things that you have planned. The times are listed below for those dates. If for any reason none of this works, you live really far away, anything like that, our orientation office will always do their best to work with you as well. And their contact information is located on one of the last 2 slides. So we also, I mentioned, have pre-orientation modules, and this is just to get you a little more acclimated to kind of what goes on behind the scenes in terms of registration, what your academic colleges do to support you, your expectations as a new student, and then introducing you to our 2 different types of support systems. So we have our academic advisors and our success coaches, a little bit about financing your education, and then preparing for what you will do at Rocket Launch. And then we have our placement test. So if you have very specific questions about this, myself or John, or your academic advisor, again, all of that contact information will be at the end. We'll be more than happy to talk one-on-one about these things with you. This is going to be more of like a general overview of them. So all of our incoming students are required to take the ALEKS math placement test. And then all of our incoming students are required to take the ALEKS Chem placement test, except our construction engineering technology students, our computer science and engineering technology students, and our information technology students. So I do want to make that distinction. We do have a computer science and engineering degree and a computer science and engineering technology degree program. The students going into computer science and engineering technology do not have to take the Chem placement test, while the students going into computer science and engineering do need to take that Chem placement test. Then on this slide here, we have some, well, do you really have to take the placement test if you have this, X, Y, Z? So these are some ways that you can help kind of distinguish a little bit more if you do need to take those placement tests. So if you took a high school level calculus course, you scored a 21 on your math ACT or the equivalent on your SAT, yes, you definitely still need to take that math placement test. You applied test optionally to U Toledo, or you are planning on taking the AP Calc A, B, or BC test in May, but you don't have your scores yet. Yes, you are still definitely going to want to take those placement tests. The reason that placement tests are so important is it's really going to help to make sure that we are working with you to make sure that you're in the correct class, whether it be math, which we're talking about with this, or chemistry as well. So we really want to make sure that you are in the place where you're going to be most successful when you start your curriculum here. In the middle, the maybe comes into you don't like chemistry or you didn't take it in high school. If you didn't take it in high school, a lot of times you may just be starting in that elementary chem class, which we'll talk a little bit more on the next slide. So that's kind of where it's maybe, and that's a conversation that you can have one-on-one with your academic advisor, and they'll make sure that you're taking it if you need to or not. And then some reasons that you wouldn't need to take the placement test: if you have college credit for trig, pre-calc, or calculus, and you got a C or higher in that, you have received scores for an AP calc test and received a 3 or higher, or the same for chemistry. If you took an elementary chem or a general chemistry and you received a C or higher, or if you received a 4 or 5 on your AP Chem test. So the most important thing, if you've taken some college level class, is that you just make sure to verify that with us, that you do have credit for that, so we know whether or not you do need to take it. But if you've taken a college level course, whether it be at your high school or through a community college, you will want to make sure that we can verify that, so we, again, make sure that you're starting in that right class. So some more specifics here for the math placement test. These are the scores and kind of what they will allow you to start in. So a 76, that's going to start you in Calculus 1 or Technical Calculus. So most of our engineering science programs start in a Calculus 1 and a general chemistry course. So that's why the 76 on the left-hand side for math and a 50 on the chem placement test are really where we like to see those students shoot for. That's not always the case though, and it is okay if you do not start in those classes. We do have supplemental math courses that will help. We have an engineering math class that helps students that don't start directly into calculus. So it is still okay if you do not start in those classes, but we do want to just kind of let you know this is where traditionally those students start. The most important thing I can say is if you applied test optionally to the University of Toledo, really making sure that you try to at least place into trigonometry, so math 1330, and scoring at least a 61 on your placement test. This is going to keep you on the best track to graduate on time, and it's going to be the easiest way to kind of make sure that you don't have to take any additional supplemental summer classes unless you are kind of okay with knowing that that might be an option. Why I say that is if you start in college algebra, you would take that in the fall, then you would take trig in the spring, and then you'd have to take calc over the summer to really try to stay on track as best as possible. With your math placement test, you can take that 3 times. You need to have a minimum of 48 hours in between, and there are learning modules with the math placement test that you need to do in between. So that could take anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. It just depends on how much learning modules are, how many hours you need to put into those learning modules. We will honor the highest score that you take with the math placement test. And then with your chem placement test, it's a little bit different. Also, the math placement test does have a $20 fee associated with it. The chem placement test is free. The chem placement test, you take it 1 time. If you score 50 the first time, that's going to place you into general chemistry. You then have the option at the end of the chem placement test to do learning modules to build your score. So if you score maybe a 45 or a 40 and you're like, you know, I could do a little bit better and I definitely would be comfortable starting in Gen Chem in the fall, you can take that placement test and with those learning modules at the end to build up your score. If you don't take that placement test and you score less than a 50 and you don't want to build your scores, you would then start in elementary chem. So again, the no placement test that would come into, if the chem placement test was required for your program and you didn't take it, that again might be for a student that has never taken chemistry in high school or really just isn't good with chemistry and would be more confident starting in elementary chem. But our recommendation, especially since the chem placement test is free, to definitely take that chem placement test, see where you're going to start out. But again, it's not needed for construction engineering technology, computer science and engineering technology, and your information technology. So you can take these placement tests online through a program called ALEX, and those are available to take now if you want. We do ask that they are completed at least a week before you meet with your academic advisor. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next couple of slides, but we ask that you do that a week before. So then if you do realize you need to retake a test because you scored really close to what you need, or you want time to build your score with chemistry, you're going to give yourself some time for that. But a really simple way, we will be sending out information on all of this, and so will the orientation office. And it's accessible in your MyUT account under that new student tab. But if you just search College of Engineering Placement Test on the University of Toledo website, both of those tests will be listed up there. And then we have your next exciting thing to do over the summer, which is attend rocket launch. So we mentioned that those are going to be in June and the beginning of July. And this is where, if you have not already by this point, you will schedule your advising appointment with your advisor. So what we will be doing is hosting individual one-on-one virtual advising appointments for our students. So a week prior to your scheduled rocket launch date, we're going to be emailing our students. Your academic advisor will be emailing you, or myself on behalf of all the advisors, and you will then have a link to schedule an appointment with that academic advisor. So that will then be your appointment for your schedule, where you're actually going to work with them to register for classes. More information will be in the email that we send out too, but that's going to be after your rocket launch date. Another way that we're going to make sure that you're registered for this advising appointment is on the day of rocket launch. If you need to change your appointment time, or if you just haven't picked a time yet, we're going to catch you at check-in, and we're going to help you set up that one-on-one virtual advising appointment with your academic advisor. So it could be that next day after rocket launch, or it could be, a week later if that works better with your work schedule or when you're available. Family members are welcomed to attend as well if that's something that, both the student and the family would like. That is a-okay, but it's definitely something that the student can attend by themselves, that academic advising appointment. We definitely want you to come in person for rocket launch. If you do attend on that June 30th virtual program, your academic advisor will be in contact with you within 24 business hours after that to schedule that appointment with you. And then a little bit more about the registering for classes. So like I said, they're going to be virtual, and they'll be one-on-one, and they're going to be hosted through WebEx, which is the software system that we're using now, or through Microsoft Teams. And you'll get a link and everything needed to do that when you officially pick your date. And then what you can do to best prepare and help your advisors on that day. So definitely making sure that your placement tests are completed, have available any unofficial or official college transcripts. So if you've taken electives like your English classes or a psych class, an econ class, just making those available to share virtually or share your screen or verbally let them know, or then share in an email with them. That's really good to make sure that, again, we're making the best schedule with you possible. And then have any available AP scores. So if you took any AP classes your junior year, if you have any of those scores, make sure that they're available. But then we also understand that if you take the test this May, you probably won't have them until July. So that's something that later on you can send to your academic advisor and adjust your schedule if necessary. You can also upload these documents to the intake survey in your pre-orientation modules. So your advisor would then have access to view them and see everything. So they would be able to see them whether you uploaded them or you had them physically with you that day. And then the last thing, and then I'm going to turn it back over to John. So we have now switched our model for, and you may have maybe a sibling here or a cousin or something, so that's why we wanted to just mention this today. So we have switched our model to year-round advising. So what that means is when our students are full-time students here, so not this summer, but spring 2023, they will then be able to register for their fall 2023 and their spring 2024 classes. So I just wanted to let anyone know here that, again, may have someone that currently is a student here and is going through this right now. During Rocket Launch, you're only going to register for your fall 2022 classes. Then in November, you'll register for your spring 2023 classes. And then in spring 2023, you'll be able to register until spring 2024. So that's a lot of information, but I just wanted to make sure, again, if there's anyone here that has current students or brother or sister, anything like that, that you are made aware that our incoming class is only registering for this fall semester. So I'm going to turn it over to John.
Well, thank you, Ryan. Thanks for sharing all that very valuable information. So after you end up coming to Rocket Launch, register for your courses, there may be some adjustments that need to be made based on your final high school transcripts, any AP scores, as Ryan mentioned. We're going to ask for you to send in any AP scores that you may have completed, as well as your final transcripts from any CCP or dual enrollment coursework. So if you end up getting credit for AP, or if you're going to end up getting credit for CCP or dual enrollment, typically that's going to end up happening after you register for your classes. So if you end up getting that credit, you will need to reach back out to your advisor and make some schedule adjustments. So there's a chance that even though you get a schedule in May, once we get the AP scores, for example, in July, we may need to go back and revisit that schedule and make some minor adjustments based on how you may have performed on your AP scores. So we will end up also sending various messages through your Rockets email throughout the course of the summer on various events and activities that will be taking place leading up to the start of the semester, as well as once the semester begins. So I recommend getting into the habit of checking your Rockets email as soon as you can, so that way you're going to be up to date on the various activities and events that we're going to be hosting. And then, of course, we're going to be excited to celebrate you as a Rocket on your first day of class in August. We're going to be excited to have you joining us in the College of Engineering. So next slide, please. So we often get asked the question of what should I bring to college, as far as many times students are wondering about computer recommendations, if they should be using a PC or a Mac. And our engineering college computing office, in the month of April, they will put on their website, and we'll put a link on our homepage as well for incoming students, but we will have computer recommendations that students can consider if they decide to purchase a computer and bring that to college. We will have recommendations for both PC as well as Macs. And also, I will mention, we do have a program in place in the college called Virtual Lab. If you have visited the college in the past, you may have learned about that. So essentially what this Virtual Lab is if you do have your own personal computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, you will have the ability to access some of our software, not 100% of the software, but the vast majority of our software through Virtual Lab. So you'll log in using your engineering credentials, and that will allow you to access some of the software that you're going to need for your classes. If a software package is not available through Virtual Lab, you can come in to the college and use one of the many labs that we have in the college 24/7. So we do have labs available for students. If you choose not to purchase a computer, which is not required, you do not have to purchase a computer, but if you choose to do so, great, we'll have those recommendations available. But if you choose not to, you will have 24/7 access to computers in the College of Engineering that will be equipped with the software that you'll need for your classes. As far as books, students have the option of either purchasing books, of course, or we have many students who will rent books. And here we listed some of the different locations where students have been able to either purchase books or rent books. One piece of advice is obviously hold off until you figure out what your schedule looks like before either opting to rent books or purchase books, and maybe reach out to the faculty if it's not available to you at the time. But we want to make sure that you're getting the appropriate books for the course. And typically what will happen is the bookstore will have that information. We'll have that information for you online. So the appropriate book will be assigned to whatever class it is that you're looking for, and the bookstore will be able to help you in determining what book you need for that class. So the bookstore will have that information, as well as that will be available to you online. Next slide, Ryan. So we wanted to include some contact information. Again, today was just a brief overview of some of the next steps, some things that you should be looking out for in the near future. Phone number there is for the Undergraduate Studies Office, the 419-530-8040. That number is a number that you can reach either myself or Ryan. So if you have any questions after today, I know that Ryan mentioned a couple times that if you would like to know how a College Credit Plus course or a dual enrollment course may transfer into the college, either Ryan or myself will be happy to help you out with that. So feel free to either email us. Our email addresses are there as well as that phone number. So anything we can do to help out along the way, if you're not quite sure exactly what to do, or if you receive something and you have some questions about it, feel free to call us on that number or reach out via email. We'll be happy to help you out. Kind of use us as your one-stop source, and we can kind of help facilitate anything that you may need here on campus. We also have our colleagues in the Office of New Student Orientation. If you have any questions about orientation, again, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to help out, but we can also you can also reach out to our colleagues over in the Office of New Student Orientation. You have their email address there, as well as a phone number. And then Res Life, I know that some of you are going to be looking for room assignments, and you're possibly looking at where to reside at this point in time. We have number there for Res Life. And then also the Honors Academic Village, if you're not aware, is home to our Engineering Living Learning Community. So we have in the Engineering Living Learning Community, typically about 250 to 260 students that will reside in the Honors Academic Village in the Living Learning Community, or in the Honors Living Learning Community, which is also over there. So we have in the Honors Academic Village, one thing I wanted to make sure all of you are aware, if you're thinking about still where to live on campus, living in the Engineering Living Learning Community is a great location because you're going to have other engineers in the building that you're going to be able to study with, quite a few other engineers, as I mentioned, roughly 250 plus. But also we do a lot of programming with the students, Dale Carnegie training, for example. Last couple weeks ago, actually, Ryan and I, as well as a few others, took about 40 students to the Toledo Symphony that were part of our Engineering Living Learning Community. We also do some fun things as far as social activities. In the past, we've gone to Cedar Point, the Toledo Mud Hens game, which is a baseball team here in town. So we do a lot of co-curricular as well as extracurricular activities with our Engineering Living Learning Community in the Honors Academic Village. I would like to point out, to live in the Honors Academic Village, you do not need to be a member of the University of Toledo's Honors College. We do have many students who are in the Honors College that are studying engineering, but to live in the Engineering Living Learning Community, as long as you're studying engineering in any field of engineering or engineering technology, you can reside in the Honors Academic Village. And then we also have a number there for an email for undergraduate admissions, as well as the Office of Student Accessibility and Disability. Next slide, please. And we wanted to include information on the various departments that you may be a member of. So the College of Engineering is made up of 6 departments. You are going to be a member of perhaps 1 or 2. We do have some students who will get dual majors outside of their home department. For example, we have a dual major agreement between mechanical engineering and bioengineering. So there is a chance that you could be a member of two different departments, but we do have individuals that you can reach out to in the various departments. Some of the you have individual emails or you have departmental emails. But if you need to reach out to a particular department or an individual in the department, we have the email addresses listed there. But again, if you're not quite sure exactly where to go, or at this point in time, I know some of you may have applied and been admitted into our college as an undecided or undecided engineering technology student. If you have any questions about the various fields of engineering that we offer, you need some clarification, you're kind of deciding between a couple different fields of engineering, or even if over the summer you decide that you want to switch to another field of engineering, by all means, we'll be happy to help you out and answer any questions that we can answer for you. And we're happy to help out any way we can to make sure that when you join us, you're ready to go in the chosen field that you're interested in.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all so much for taking some time out of your night, and we just really appreciate this, and again, hope this was beneficial to you. And if there's no other questions, again, you guys just have a wonderful night.
Thank you, everyone, and go Rockets.